most people that I've run into in the world think legacy is the money or the stuff you leave to people, right? And I did, certainly as an estate planning attorney. But I realized along the way as I got older that legacy is less about what you leave to people and more about what you leave in people, right? What you leave in their hearts and what you leave in their minds and what you leave in their attitudes. And so I love to help people. I try to make people see the best in people. Now, you can't be too cynical and you can't be too Pollyannish, right? But give people opportunities, give people benefits of the doubt, help them become better people.
Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and today I have the honor of sitting down with Miss Mary Hart. How are you, Mary?
I'm doing excellent. I hope you are.
I am. I'm so glad this is our third attempt at this. Both of us kind of miscommunicated on some scheduling stuff, and we both, slap our own hands for that, but we finally got this done, and I'm excited to have you here. Before we get into everything, I'm gonna kick every episode off with one of my favorite segments, but it's JJ's joke of the week. So I will turn it over to JJ for his joke of the week. Take it away, buddy.
What did one pencil say to the other pencil? You're looking sharp.
All right, JJ. Thanks for another good one. That's my little comedian in the making, Mary. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Mary Hart, I
Yes, sir.
have just gotten to know you much better. I knew your reputation. I kind of from afar. I know you spoke and at a deal maker or a couple deal makers and several events across the country. So you've had, from my perspective, a very good reputation of just having an impact on folks, right? It's kind of that, and a lot of people most everybody I've met in that deal maker environment has that same mentality, that go-giver mentality, and you certainly are no different. So I got to know you from afar for about a year, just seeing all of that. And then my partner, Bill, and I were fortunate enough to get the invite to come down to your home in Nashville back in, that was September? Is that correct?
September, I think, yes.
September?
Gosh,
Okay.
September. Early September.
Yeah. But we were invited to come there and hang out for several days with not just you and your team, but people that were lenders from all over the country. You brought in a powerhouse of folks. And I want to take a second to talk about this because I'm going to let you do all the talking after this, but
take your time.
And I haven't had a chance to really share this with you other than thanking you for putting on such a good event. It really opened my eyes to something that I think has and will forever change how I approach collaboration and competition, right? So what you did, a lot of those, how many people were in that room, Mary?
I think there were about 16 people in the room, about
Okay.
8 companies, 8 or 9 companies, maybe 9.
Yep. Every single company in that room is doing exactly what I'm doing and what you're doing. And that is lending money, trying to find borrowers to lend capital to so that they can flip houses or whatever venture they're in. And prior to that event, I always communicated well with other lenders, but in the back of my head, it was like, that's a competitor, right? And that's just I come from a competitive background, so that was just how I approached business.
You're a sports guy.
Exactly.
That's all competition, right? Yep.
Yep. And so when Bill mentioned like, hey, Mary's having this event down in Nashville, I was like, great, that'd be a great networking event. Who all is going to be there? And so it's a bunch of lenders. I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, like, what is that worth?
What am I going to get out of it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like is it worth the trip? I mean, it was an 8-hour drive for us. It was, a big event for us. I get down there and it took all of 10 minutes in that first like social we had at your house to realize like, oh no, I'm thinking about this all wrong. This is a collaboration effort. And while we're competing in the same markets in a lot of cases and stuff like that, we are here to share best practices, give thoughts on things to look out for, how to mitigate risks, things like that. I came away after 2 full days in a room with you guys with a notebook full of best practices and takeaways and stuff we're still working through in our business today. And it has completely shifted my mindset around this whole thing. And now all I want to do is be around other lenders, and I want to pick their brains, and I want to share what we're doing, and I want to hear what they're doing. And I owe all of that to you for facilitating that room. So I, with all my heart, like you have impacted our business in ways you'll never understand. Like, it really has been that big.
That makes me feel really great, because I think of it as like a giant brain trust, and I'm a firm believer in the concept of abundance, and there is no zero-sum game. You know, we can all win, and that rising tide lifts all ships, and it is the best thing for our investors, for our borrowers, if we all work together to try to be the very best lenders we can be. And I can't do that by myself. You know, people have different ideas than I have, and I have different ideas than they have. And I just get so jazzed up when I'm in a room of, you know, my quote unquote competitors, but they're so generous with their knowledge. And it's just, oh man, it just gives me chill bumps thinking about it. It's so cool. I love the power of a mastermind. I just love it, you know?
Yeah. And it was like, I had always, like, I understood the power of networking and masterminding, but usually, like, the groups I'm in, like the paid mastermind groups, it's kind of a melting pot of all niches, right? So there is, I can bring some value and I can extract value, right? This was just to go into a room with a bunch of lenders. I'm like, what is there to share? Like, they're all doing the same
What are
thing.
we talking about? We all know what we're doing.
I'm telling you, I had a page full of like, oh crap things and notes that we implemented right away, just hearing other experts talk about best practices. So again, I could make an hour of praising you on that, but you really had a big impact. So with that,
I was just really glad you guys came. So thank you.
Yeah. And that really leads into what I want to do next, is just turn it over to you, Mary, because a lot of folks that are listening have probably had the pleasure of seeing you on stage and, you know, hearing you give whatever presentation you're giving. But I kind of want to peel the onion back and really get to know Mary, your story, your evolution in your career and your life and everything to get you to where you're at now and impacting so many people. So I'm going to turn it over to you, let you take it wherever you want. We'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. So, you know, you've just known me in the last few months, really. So I'm 62 years old, so I got a lot of history before September. Basically, I grew up in North Carolina, and I'm back in North Carolina. But in between, I spent about 20 years in Alaska. I went to law school in New Hampshire and lived there for 4 years. So I practiced law in Alaska for about 19 or 20 years, and then moved to Asheville, North Carolina in 2003. Bought the house I'm sitting in now. Sadly, got divorced about a year after I got here. I had been a stay-at-home mom when we moved, so for like a year and a half. Then I started my own law firm after my divorce in Asheville, and for the most part, employed all women lawyers. I didn't think I'd have any staff, and within a year, I think I had 10 people working under me, and ran that from 2006 to 2017. I think I closed the doors on that in 2017, because along the way, while I was practicing law, I was a real estate investor, and I started lending. I was an accidental lender. Somebody asked me to loan money on a building, and it ended up being the building that I ran my law firm out of. So I went to look at the building, and at that point I said, I don't want to loan on this building. I want to buy this building. So I bought it with the woman who was looking for a loan. She ended up leaving. I bought her out a couple of years later. But then that same person who asked me to come in and maybe loan to that person had another loan, and I did my first hard money loan. Actually, I think I did that first hard money loan first. That was probably in 2004 or 3. And then the law firm was 2005 or 6. So I did that, practice law. And then I really realized I loved being a real estate investor. I started teaching around the country to real estate investors and small business owners. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. And I finally realized, you know, I've been practicing law for 30 some years, and I'd rather just go be an investor and a lender. So I shut down the firm, got rid of all my employees. They went off to do great things. And I just started teaching and lending. And so I've been lending now for about 20 some years, but it was kind of a hobby for me until really the end of last year. And I decided to ramp it up and started Fair Oaks Funding. So we're on track to originate a little over $14 million in loans this year. And I'm in the process of hiring and trying to grow a little bit and see where we can take this. So that's what I'm doing full time now, pretty much, is my own real estate investments, but then lending and teaching. So
Got it.
that's what I'm doing.
I love it. So Fair Oaks Funding, for those that are watching on YouTube, she gave us these wonderful notepads. And I've been using it ever since for my podcast notes. So, but you guys, Fair Oaks Funding, let's start with the name. Where'd the name come from?
So I thought long and hard, tried to find a name, and I'm just not that creative about names. And then one day I was going through my mail and I realized, my address is Fair Oaks. And I was like, well, that sounds like a good name. And it has a nice alliteration with funding. So it became Fair Oaks Funding because I just wasn't that creative, actually. Yep. And I thought, well, Fair is a good name for a lending company. Oaks, strong, sturdy, reliable. And the funny thing, if you look at our logo, and people will notice, it's not an oak leaf on my logo. It's a maple leaf. And we know that, but we looked through so many oak leaves in the graphics and could not find one that we liked with our logo. We just decided the oak leaf was not attractive and the maple leaf was perfect. So people were like, you have a maple leaf on Fair Oaks Funding logo. I'm like, yep, I don't care. I like the leaf.
Well,
but that's how the name came about.
I didn't even notice it until you just brought it up. Yeah. Now I see the maple leaf.
You're gonna look.
Yeah.
Everybody will look. And we just like the shape of the maple leaf better. And my daughter-in-law is from Canada, and we have property right below the Canadian border up in the Adirondack State Park. And I was like, I love Canada, so the maple leaf is perfect.
I love it. At least as you go through your name, you can Fair, Oak, Strong. I love how you went through all that. It's become kind of a inside joke now, but our name is 608B Capital. It doesn't tie to real estate at all. And we had some mentors early on say, you got to make your name something that screams, I'm a real estate company or lender. 608B was our college apartment number, mine and Bill's. And it means nothing to nobody other than us. But we just can't get off of it. We love it. So that's
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Well, to me, I think it's important to pick names that matter. So like when I create LLCs, and I've created so many of them in the past, I always try to make something that matters. So I bought a farm in Kentucky in 2015 and I set up an LLC and I ended up calling it 9 of Coins because there's it's a tarot card. I'm not a tarot card person, but I was looking these things up, and 9 of Coins had an artwork that depicted a female farmer with like gold coins scattered at her feet and vineyards in the background and animals all around her. I'm like, perfect. So my LLC was 9 of Coins because it was a female farmer and I was buying a farm. So anyway, awesome. I love the name alliteration. My law firm was owned by Salus Properties, which was the Roman goddess of health and prosperity. And I thought that's pretty good if I'm starting a law firm. So anyway, I never do traditional names. So I agree with that. I love your name.
So Fair Oaks Funding, you had been lending. When did you actually launch that? Is it a couple of years ago? When did you launch Fair Oaks
Funding? Literally, we're not even a year. This month is a year since I set up the LLC. I opened my first bank account on December 9th last year. So I'm not even a year into it yet, really, about a year.
And at a year, y'all have done, you said around 13 million in loan origination?
Yep, we've got 9.7 or 9 something on the books right now, and we're underwriting another 4 that we've already committed to. So we're going to be at like 13.8.
Mary, that is...
It could be more. That's just the ones we're underwriting right now, but that I think we've pretty much committed to. We just haven't closed those yet. So we should be at 13.8.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, are you guys, remind me, I know we talked about this a little bit when we were at your meetup, but are you guys set up as a fund or is it
not
how
yet?
You operate? Okay.
Yeah, not yet. So I'm looking at that right now. A lot of the capital comes from my line of credit, and my brother and sister have lines of credit. So we've been doing, most of it's mine. Like I've probably right now over 5 million of it's my line of credit. Okay. And then my siblings came in, and I've got 3 other investor friends who just approached me and say, hey, can you deploy this money for me? And I'm like, sure. So that's probably another 800,000 or 900,000 from those investors. I'm not out there advertising for investors yet because I don't have a fund, but I'm actually working with one of the other lending companies that was at the mastermind in Asheville, and we're sort of collaborating to move forward and get a fund started, hopefully the first quarter of 2026.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. We started with a fund. I mean, well, I'll say that Bill and I were lending privately for a little bit, like out of our self-directed funds or capital and stuff like that. But we started with a fund right out of the gate because we didn't have the capital. I mean, our capital only went but so far, so we needed the investor capital. And I mean, it was a couple different ways we could have approached it. We could have just raised capital on a deal-to-deal basis and tied that investor to that particular deal. But for us, our vision was, we knew where we wanted to take it, and we wanted to build a foundation that would allow us to take it there, from day one. So, but you guys, I mean, you're originating 13 million in your first year, give or take. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, I think our first full year was 2024, and I want to say we originated 7 million in that
That's
first
what I did
year.
last year, a little over 7,
Yeah,
before I started the actual company, just with my own money.
yeah,
And that's kind of what pushed me into setting up a company, because I realized at the end of 2024 that I'd originated like 7.2 million, just me and a little spreadsheet. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should make this more official. So I started
yeah,
the company and bought all the loan servicing software and,
yeah,
all that, hired some people. And yeah, I just decided I need to be more official. So that's what I'm doing. And now I've got a bigger goal. And so I'm bumping up about the max level of capital I'm willing to take without a fund. And I want to start advertising for more capital, because we've got opportunities that, my capital is tapped out until some loans close. And so that's why we've got to raise capital. So I think I'll do
yeah,
a fund, because it's a lot of paperwork to put everybody in a one-off loan,
yeah,
and chase everybody to sign certificate of satisfactions or whatever.
yeah,
And it just makes for an easier administrative side on one hand if you have a fund.
yeah.
Some of that, it depends on the type of fund you have. You've got more administrative burden on fund management, but the actual loans, the paperwork is easier on the loans if you've got a fund.
It is, and it reduces risk for the investors because now as a
Now they'll
fund,
spread out
yep,
across
exactly
the whole
right.
portfolio instead of just in one loan. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been through a couple foreclosures, and I mean, obviously, you don't want to go through those. They've all worked out fine, but doing it as a fund, no investor feels any burden of that, right? So they don't have to get brought in to that foreclosure process. We still pay the returns. We deal with the
Yeah.
foreclosure. Now, obviously, you don't want half your loans going into foreclosure, but it does. It eliminates a lot or reduces a lot of headaches on the investor side, but mitigates a lot of risk as well. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are.
Yeah. Do you do it a debt fund or an equity fund?
Some debt fund. Yep.
Debt fund. That's
Yeah.
where I'm leaning, because it, as a debt fund, for those of you who don't know, the lender takes on more of the risk, because you're just guaranteeing sort of what you're going to pay your investors one way or the other. An equity fund, they become owners in your fund, and they kind of can go up and down with your profits or losses. So I think a debt fund is easier to administer, and that's probably one of the main reasons I'm going to probably do that for my first fund. Is just
Yeah.
let's
We look at
a little simpler.
we looked at both options, and I mean, to be fully transparent, you talk about like collaborating with other lenders. For our first year, we had a consultant. You may know Kelly Garrett with Rehab Wallet out of
I
they're out
I
of
haven't met
Austin.
the person.
Yeah, so Kelly's fantastic, but we asked her to build our foundation. I mean, they're 10 times bigger than we'll ever be probably, but we hired her to help us build the foundation in a way that would allow us, if the stars lined up, to grow into what she is, or some portion of that size. And the debt fund was just the most logical way to build a foundation and then grow. But that gave me my first taste working with her. I mean, literally, I asked her early on, why are you helping build a direct competitor to you? Like she lends up to North Carolina. We lend down in North Carolina a little bit. And she said, there's enough sunshine for all of us. That was her
And I
response.
mean, everybody
Yeah.
needs capital.
Yep.
Everybody
Yep.
needs capital. Everybody's chasing capital. So I don't worry about the competition, because frankly, if I just am the best I can be, the cream rises to the top. And so the people who don't take their job seriously, aren't good to their borrowers, aren't good to their investors, they're going to fall off anyway. I
Yeah.
want the cream to rise to the crop. You, me, Kelly, I want everybody to be served by excellent lenders, because
Yep.
my goal is to help increase wealth for every constituency, the borrower, the new homeowner, the investor, my children down the line. And the only way you can do that is share everything and help each other.
Yep.
It's hard to
Yeah. And
be
I,
a
I,
lone wolf in this business.
I think I do want to go back, kind of backtracking your story a little bit and get some more details there. But before we do that, I got a question, because you have a unique transition into this space in the sense that you were an attorney for many years. Um, how Talk about the pros and cons of that transition. So the pros being you know the legal stuff in and out, but has it held you back in any way? So I'd love to hear your perspectives on that.
It may have held me back because it probably makes me a little more conservative because I've seen a lot of really bad stuff. It also, I think it helps because I know that, my paperwork is number one importance when you're doing your underwriting. I vet the people, the property, and the paperwork. And, I'm really hyped up on you've got to have good paperwork to protect you. I've been, knock on wood, very fortunate in 22 years or so of lending. I've never had a foreclosure. Knock hard on that wood.
Mhm.
Now, I've also loaned until this past year, mostly to people that I know, like, and trust because it was just me and it was small. But I think being a lawyer helps me because I know more what to expect. I can read if the borrower has somebody prepare the paperwork, and sometimes we'll accept that. I look at it and I can go back and forth without my own attorney and say, no, you need to add this to the paperwork, or no, that's not going to work, or hey, great job, whatever it is. I prefer to do my own paperwork, and now we're using Lightning Docs to be able to draft loan documents in all 50 states. And I'm probably going to transition in 2026 to requiring the borrowers to use our paperwork because we're finding that the quality across the board of other loan documents is not always great. And it takes me more time to review somebody else's document than it does just to create my own from scratch.
Yeah.
And know what's in them, know what's in the documents. So I think I'm really glad that I have the skill set as the attorney. I'm not sure that makes me always the best business owner. Like, my attorney brain sometimes kicks in before my entrepreneur brain. But it does give me an advantage on the protections I think that the paperwork gives you. And I know what to look for. I used to do real estate closings. I can read a title commitment. I can read a HUD statement. I know what's missing. So I do like that I have that background. I don't
Yeah.
think
And
it's necessary. Most lenders don't have it, but I like it for me. It
yeah.
helps me.
Couple things there. I agree with you on we do our own docs, or we have our attorneys do for 100% of our documents, and I agree with you that we aren't attorneys, but kind of having that control of knowing every word in that doc and what it means and stuff like that, it does mitigate risk a lot more. But gosh, I'm thinking, like, once you get to a point where you are pulling the lever on raising capital, that background is such a powerful, like, if I'm an investor looking to deploy some capital passively, I'm gonna very much pay attention to what you're offering because of your legal experience, right? So that
Yeah, I
makes
do
it
think it helps.
it does.
I do think it helps. I think being a lawyer helps. I think people who've heard me teach know that I know what I'm talking about, because if you stand up there in front of the room and people ask you questions, and it's not something you've prepared, they can tell if you know your material or not.
Yeah.
And so I teach on lending, I teach on legal subjects, I teach on that. And all of that, I think, helps with my credibility when I'm raising capital, and also for borrowers. They want to work with someone who helps protect them. I mean, there are times I've looked at paperwork for a borrower and I'm like, yeah, you need something different, whether it's a contract with a contractor or something. So I think it does help.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, on that side of the borrower side, you become part of their team, right? You become, I mean, truly, like, you are a true second, third set of eyes looking over everything. And I know in our case, and I'm sure you see it too, we've probably saved a lot of borrowers from bad deals just by catching something that they might not have thought of. And for us, that maybe not the legal background that you have, but we've owned 100 properties ourselves, right? Like we've been through all the processes, so we can identify a red flag that maybe somebody's only flipped 2 or 3 might not have had that experience. So that definitely has
Absolutely.
a lot of value. I want to go back, Mary. So you mentioned that, you know, you were an investor yourself, you know, while having your law practice, but at some point you got into teaching and coaching on real estate and even lending and stuff like that. I want you to walk me through how that evolved. So did you get asked? Yeah, did you get asked to speak in an event and then you had a light bulb moment like, oh, I'm good at this? Or how did that happen?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I feel like everything I've done other than go to law school has been accidental. Like I haven't set out to do it. It's just sort of fallen in my lap. And in this particular case, I was practicing law in Asheville and I got contacted by a self-directed IRA custodian and an accountant who had known me through the local real estate group which I used to teach to occasionally. And they said, can you please go take Dyches Boddiford's course in Atlanta on self-directed IRA investing because no lawyers understand it in Asheville. And we really want you to go learn it because I was already practicing law in the real estate field, the tax field, business law. So I had trust law. So I had all these pieces, but I had never really heard of self-directed IRAs or even knew what they were. This was back in probably, I don't know, 2010, maybe, I don't know, a long time ago. So I went down to, for those of you who don't know, Dyches Boddiford, unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, phenomenal teacher. And I went down to his group and he always asks, who are the lawyers in the room? Who are the CPAs? Who are the IRS agents? So of course I raised my hand as a lawyer. And then he starts calling on me during the class. And then of course at every break, everybody's talking to me. So then after I was just an attendee. So after I went to that class, I joined a cruise that he put together with another friend, an investor cruise, and they had Lido deck hours in the evening and where people just asked a lot of questions. And I kept answering these questions. Dyches would call on me or whatever. And apparently he got some evaluations at the end of the cruise that said things like, I don't know who this Mary Hart is, but she needs to be teaching with you. So Dyches asked me to teach some courses with him. So I went down and taught with him, and then people in the audience, David Phelps was one of them, some Jim Ingersoll, some other people, they heard me speak, heard of me. They started asking me to speak, and then it just grew. I mean, I just said, yes, I don't charge for it. It's free. Dyches did pay me, but nobody else pays. I just go my own dime and teach because I like it. And it just grew from there. Then Jim Ingersoll had me be his keynote speaker for a number of years at Dealmaker. And you've seen me, I've spoken at a number of his events. I'm going on the Investor Addicts Cruise to speak this January. So I just love it. So people just ask me to speak. And if I have time in my schedule, I go do it. That's how it started. It was an accident. I was just an attendee at a class,
So Dyches Boddiford has been brought up now at least 3, maybe 4 times on this podcast by other guests. And none of y'all are really related, so he must have had a very big reach. Yeah.
He did. He had a big reach. He was in it for a long time. And now his daughter, Dorsey Boddiford Cooney, she was with him for the later years of his life teaching. And she has some books out like Wrapping for Profit. She does a lot of wrap loans. She's also a flipper. And I think he had a hard money lending course that I've taken 3 times. And I think Dorsey may take that over. Excellent course. And I met a lot of my real estate investor friends just by going to some of his classes in Atlanta. He always did it till the last couple of years in person. Then as he got older, he had Parkinson's, he taught online. In fact, you may still be able to access his hard money lending course or other courses. His website is assets101.com. And there may still be courses that are evergreen. He was one of the smartest people I've ever met, one of the kindest, most generous people with his information. He always, stood up at the front of the room in a suit, and he was just very businesslike. But boy, I learned so much from him over the years. He was an amazing man. We're very sad to have lost him. Very sad.
So you sounds like you leaned into that heavily. Did you have a menu of topics that you could teach on, or was it all? I mean, what was like when somebody reaches out and says, Jim Ingersoll says, "Hey Mary, I need you to speak at Dealmaker." Is he saying, "Come speak on lending, come speak on paperwork," or are you saying, "Okay, I have this topic or this menu of topics"?
Yeah, so usually with Jim, with all these keynote speeches, he'll just say, "What do you want to talk on?" And I'll sit down and give it some thought and try to figure out, particularly as a keynote presentation, what can I talk about that would apply to the whole room, that would jazz people up and get them in the right mindset for the rest of the conference. So I've talked on legacy. I've talked on the magic of thinking big. And then sometimes I've talked on how to do due diligence. That's a little drier topic, but everybody needs to know that. How all the relationships, contractor and flipper, borrower, lender, JV partners, whatever it is. So I usually just kind of come up with a topic. Sometimes people will ask me what to teach on, or tell me what they want me to teach on, but usually they just ask me for an idea. So I just spoke for Jim in Dallas, and I think that when he asked me, he said, "Can you talk about scaling up a lending business?" Because he's one of my borrowers and he knew that I was scaling up. So he created that topic and I made the presentation happen. But usually people are just saying, "What do you want to talk about?" Because I can talk about legal things. I do estate planning. I used to be a 1031 qualified intermediary, so I can talk about that, private lending, keynote type of topics, due diligence as a lawyer, the underwriting. So usually I just come up with what I think will work for that audience.
Have you ever, I know you don't, get paid to speak necessarily, but have you considered kind of packaging some of this into like more digital resources that, people could purchase, like a course on launching lending or whatever?
I have. People have asked me to do that. I think it's a great idea. To be honest with you, I need more staff in my life so that I can free up some time, because I wear way too many hats right now, and I just don't have the time. But part of my goal for 2026 is to identify seats and roles that I can fill in my business, and frankly, even in my personal life. Like I need a personal assistant just to do stuff that has nothing to do with business. And so if I can staff up some seats and some roles that free up some time, that I have thought about doing an evergreen course, particularly like estate planning. Everybody needs it. Nobody wants to do it. That was my first love in the law, was estate planning. I did it for 30 years. Lending, I would love to teach more on lending for beginners, or how to scale up, just from how do you start a lending company to all the way to how do you scale up? How do you start not even a company? How do you start doing one private loan, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to do that. I just have to find time, because I work 7 days a week, it feels like right now.
Right. Yeah. One of my friends in the real estate industry, a version of his course, like that evergreen courses, is he has the brand, but he brings in experts on certain topics to record. So it gives those experts some marketing material, but he can house it in his library of resources. So you pay X amount a month to be a member of his coaching course, but you've got all these topics, from self-directed to lending to multifamily to mobile home parks and stuff like that. So I thought that was, because all he's got to do is, what's that?
I did that for about 2 or 3 years. I had the AIM Hire Academy, and AIM stood for Alternative Investing Movement. And I did a lot of videos. It's probably still out there on YouTube. In fact, I'm sure it is. And then I had some speakers come in, but then I got too busy, and I decided I didn't have enough time to devote to it. And so I stopped that. There are people who were doing it better than me, but it was great, because I just had a monthly subscription, and I would ask, what topics do you want to learn? And I would either bring in a speaker or I would do it. And people loved it, but it just took too much time away from what I was trying to focus on. So I ended up shutting that down a couple of years ago. But it's a great thing to do for people, to help them move forward in their careers.
Yep. I love it. I think what you just said is my life right now. I have so many things I want to lean into, but the more of those things I pursue, the more scattered my focus gets, and the lower quality everything becomes. So it is a matter of, especially like right now, our baby is the lending business and this fund, that requires a lot of time, energy, all those things. And every minute taken away from it reduces the impact I can have through that. So the next
that's
step,
my goal.
the next step
that's
is
my word in 2026, focus.
And the only way to do that is, you said it perfectly, but figure out ways to delegate and bring people into the mix that can handle these things that do require your attention, so you can shift that attention to other things. And I don't know that I'll ever.
It's hard. Somebody told me once, you do a time audit, which I'm going to try to do pretty soon, where you literally write down what you do every 15 minutes for like 2 weeks. It's hard to do. But then you look at it and you figure out, okay, what can I eliminate? What can I automate? What can I delegate? And then you just keep those things that are in your zone of genius, right? The things that work the best for you, that you like the most and that you have the most skill set for. And then everything else should be in somebody else's zone of genius. Like, I know I'm a visionary. I'm not the detailed integrator type person in terms of running the business. So I need to delegate that out. And I do have a person that's helping me. So yeah, figure all that out. That's my goal coming into 2026, is how can I get rid of some of my hats and hire other people to take on things that really are not in my zone of genius. I can do them, but I don't love them. Right.
You have fantastic energy. And you mentioned it earlier, your age. I mean, you're into your sixth decade of life. And it's a decade where I would imagine from a financial standpoint, you're close to, if not already at a point where you could probably sit back. You could retire. And what keeps you moving? Because it doesn't sound like you have any thoughts of slowing down. So what keeps that going?
People ask me all the time, well, when are you going to retire? I say, well, I'm rewired. I retired from attorneying. I'm rewired into doing things I love. And really, there are days, sure, I'm like, man, I'd love to have nothing to do today and sit around with a good novel or watch, a movie or whatever. But I get bored really, really easily. I think I'm a little ADD and my brain needs to be going a million miles an hour or I'm bored. And so, and also I want to see if I can do it. Can I grow this lending company to where either my children want to take over one day or it's sellable, or, can I do it? Do I want to do it? So when I started this a year ago, I said, okay, I'm going to work full out on this till I'm 65. That's 3.5 years from now. Is that right? 2.5 years from now, something like that. I'm 62 and a half. So let me see how I feel at 65. If I have as much energy as I have now, I'm probably going to keep it going, but maybe work fewer hours in the business. If I'm like, man, I just want to sit around and read novels and eat bonbons, then I'll change. I don't really see that happening, but so I don't know. I'm taking it a day at a time and seeing where it'll go. And I do have a lot of energy. I like what I do. I've been blessed in this life with other people helping me. My financial life is where I could quit tomorrow and make plenty of money and leave plenty of money to my kids and never have to worry about it again. So I'm not really doing this for the money. But I love the idea, like I mentioned earlier, of helping other people grow their wealth, not just my family, but borrowers, investors. If we all grow wealth together in this country and we don't have to rely so much on charities and government, I think we'll just be better off. Yeah. And so my little part, if I have knowledge or I have the ability to do that, then I want to do that until I just get sick of it. And I'm not sick of it at all right now. I love it.
Has that evolved over the years? Looking back as you were building your law firm, were you more destination focused in the sense of like, eventually I'm going to sail off into the sunset? Or have you always had this mindset of, I don't ever want to stop?
I have never even thought about retirement. And the only reason I shut down the law firm, frankly, is because I liked the lending and the investing and the teaching better. And I was tired of managing employees. I wanted to go off and teach and go on these investor cruises and do all that. And really, back then, I didn't understand the difference between working in your business and working on your business. And so I was a full-time attorney. I wasn't just the owner of the business. And I found it impossible to be a full-time attorney and travel for conferences and do all that because I was drafting documents and had scheduled out client meetings 6 months at a time. I had no spontaneity or the ability to do something at the drop of a hat. So that's really why I quit lawyering, because I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, and being scheduled out 6 months at a time with clients was tough. So I've never sat down and thought, well, I'm going to do this, until X age or X dollars. I just do it. And then one day if I'm like, yep, doesn't work for me anymore, let's figure something else out. Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just kind of how I live my life. I'm trying to do what feels good. If it no longer feels good, let's pivot and do something else. Right.
I love it. I went a lot of years, but I worked in the corporate world. I was in sales for an insurance company, and I've worked that same job or that same company for 17 years. I would say 14 of it, my main focus was that destination of like how quickly can I become financially independent. And every move I was making was, save more, spend less, just build up that nest egg so I could retire. And then, but I never thought beyond retirement. It was this like idea in the sky of it's bliss, it's heaven. I'm going to retire and everything's going to be great. And it wasn't until, I started leaning heavily on the side into real estate. That became a second full-time career, if you will. And then ultimately left that career. My whole focus shift from like destination focused to journey focused, right? Like I love what I'm doing. I don't want this to stop. And I may do it at different levels along the way, but my new goal was not store away as much as possible so I could sail off to the sunset. Now it's creating a journey that's so good, like that is the destination, and that's been a recent shift for me. And I'm 44, so I got hopefully a lot of time left, but I can't envision ever getting to a point where I don't have something to chase,
I agree. And one of the reasons that I love the lending business, because I also love to travel, and I'm hopefully going to have grandkids soon and do all that, but I can do lending from anywhere. Anywhere there's an internet connection. Sitting on the beach in the Caribbean last year, I was taking in, $14,000 in interest payments one day. I'm like, okay, this is great. Drinking pina colada and taking in $14,000 and paying my investors. I was like, man, this is awesome. So that's one of the things I really love about the lending business. But I foresee getting to an age where maybe I want to work 10 hours a week in the business or 20 hours a week, or just, manage the managers, but have it be a small slice. And, I'm not there yet, and I don't know when I'll get there, what age that'll be. I'll know it when I'm there. It's I don't know if, from law school, we read a case where there was a Supreme Court case where they were trying to decide whether a piece of art was art or pornography. And Judge Learned Hand said, I can't define it, pornography, but I know it when I see it. That's the way I feel about almost everything in my life, whether it's how I decorate my house, to when I'm going to quit working, to whatever. I can't tell you right now, but I'll know it when I see it. I'll know it when I feel it. And I just try to create enough flexibility in my life that I can pivot to whatever feels right and is right for the people in my life. And that's that.
I love that. And your energy is contagious, by the way. I mean, I could feel it the minute. I've talked about at the beginning of this, but you have a wonderful home. And it was like still under construction to some level, like
you just moved back in. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of punch lists still to do at that time.
Beautiful. And you didn't just host an event, like you put every detail. You could tell whether that was you or somebody on your team, but every detail was thoughtful, thought out, and it just made the experience really good. So you were built for that as well. I mean, I don't, again, whether you delegated that or you did it yourself, it was fantastic.
I probably got 90% of it. I did all the food stuff myself, all the meals. I'm a foodie, so it had to be good food,
Yeah.
Good drinks, good company. What else could you want, right?
We could probably go on for another hour talking about Frank, who became my favorite person at the whole event. Frank is your husband.
Yes. Yeah. He was the host with the most. And it's so funny because, he doesn't drink. He doesn't like alcohol. And I love a good beverage. And we started serving up old fashions, and I was too busy in conversations. So I said, Frank, can I teach you how to make an old fashioned? So we taught him how to make one. He'd never made one in his life. And man, I think we went through like 2.5 giant bottles of Woodford over 2 days because everybody wanted Frank's old fashions because they were so good. So good.
Good stuff. So Mary, we're going to start wrapping things up now with a few questions that, these are, you've talked a lot about the business and your evolution in your career and stuff like that. And clearly, and I'm kind of beating this dead horse because I know I just want to reiterate it. You're not doing any of this for the money. It's more of a just where you can go with it. So I kind of want to talk about your legacy. You talked about earlier, just setting up something for you, your kids, your grandkids, and being able to travel and stuff like that. How often do you think about legacy, and what context do you think about it?
So I'm in a former estate planning attorney, so legacy's been in my lexicon forever.
Yeah.
But legacy to me, and I think about it all the time because most people that I've run into in the world think legacy is the money or the stuff you leave to people, right? And I did certainly as an estate planning attorney. But I realized along the way as I got older that legacy is less about what you leave to people and more about what you leave in people, right? What you leave in their hearts and what you leave in their minds and what you leave in their attitudes. And so I love to help people. I try to make people see the best in people. Now, you can't be too cynical and you can't be too Pollyannish, right? But give people opportunities, give people benefits of the doubt, help them become better people. My children, I have 3 adult sons, 33, 30, and 26. And I said when they were growing up, that the legacy I wanted them to get from me was that they grew up to be respectful, compassionate people. I didn't care what they did for a living. They're good people with good hearts, and they are excellent men with excellent hearts. They all have partners they treat very well. They treat me very well. They treat people in their world very well. And that's, to me, that is my legacy to them, is they are kind, generous, compassionate, respectful people. I've done my job in the legacy. Now, the business, leaving them the business or the assets, that's a piece of the legacy. But I also know that they need to make their own way because they won't feel good about themselves if they just get handed a lump of money when I die, right? So I've tried to teach them along the way, and they're all doing great, They've lived overseas. They've created their own lives. They have great jobs. My middle son right now is in Somalia leading an organizational meeting with World Vision, teaching the leaders, ministers of this and that in Somalia about global mental health. That's huge to me. He did that all on his own, and he's now in a PhD program for that. My oldest son, who's here with me right now, works for the Department of Education in Delaware in data analytics, trying to help the education system. I didn't do any of that, but I gave them the love of learning and the desire, I think, to be good people and to help make the world a better place. That is a great legacy for me. I feel proud of that. My youngest son is still in college, but he's got the kindest heart and is such a great guy. And that makes me very proud of the legacy. So if I could leave them and my stepchildren, I have stepchildren as well, the legacy would be kind, compassionate, respectful, take care of yourself, take care of others when you can. That quote, to whom much is given, much is expected. I love to help people because people have helped me. And if we all did that for everybody, whether that's in your relationships, your friendships, your work relationships, if everybody put everybody else on a pedestal and tried to help them, we'd be such a different world. If people thought more about others than themselves, we'd be in a better position. If people sought more to understand before being understood, we'd be in a better position in this world. So all of that, to me, comes into legacy. Teach people how to be good people, and the rest will follow, right?
Oh, so good. I'm going to add a little bit to that because
Yes.
you spoke about and it relates to you and your legacy. You talked about your children and and that's fantastic. I mean, I've got young kids, and I don't know that I can add a single thing to what you said as far as the legacy I want to leave to them, because I could not care less, and neither could they, about how much money I make to leave them, right? They like, I want them to look back on me and say, Dad was there. I can't remember a time where Dad wasn't there, right? And I was flirting for a couple years with not being there a lot because I had my full-time job and my real estate on the side, and it was just chaos. So that, I agree with all that. One more thing to your legacy, and I mentioned it at the start of this podcast. I'm just one person. My partner, Bill, is one person. We're one little company that's trying to figure our way out. That you and what you facilitated, doing what you did in that small room, left a lasting impact on us. Mary, I cannot, and I don't want to speak for everybody else in that room. A lot of those folks had been around you in similar settings before. We had not. But I would argue that everybody in that room is better. They're better humans and better business owners, lenders, better risk mitigators, all of that because of what you facilitated. Now, that was one event. You're doing events like this. I know not long after that, you did a women's retreat in the Outer Banks. You're going around speaking to all these people. And every time you do that, it's a spider web of people taking little nuggets away that they're applying. So that legacy is well beyond. I mean, obviously, the most important people to you are your family, right? But you're having a long, and I've said the same thing to like Jim Ingersoll. He's doing the same thing, right? Just being a facilitator of ideas and being able to get people in these rooms together, you're having such a big impact. So I don't know your family. I know Frank, but I know a lot of people that know you and have been impacted by you. And I can speak for all of us that you're having a mega legacy impact on all of us. So yeah.
I really appreciate that, Jason. That means a lot. Thank you so much. That's what I want. I want people to remember me as making the world better. Even if it's one little person at a time. And when I gave a talk on legacy, and I got asked to give this speech many times by people who heard it. Legacy can be a tiny little thing. It can be smiling at someone in the grocery store. You don't know them, but they're having a really bad day. And if you hadn't smiled at them, they would have gone home and yelled at their kids, and then their kids would have had a bad day. And you just saying hello and smiling at them may just change their whole day, right? Legacy could be starting a garden in an urban desert, where nobody can get fresh food. There's so many little things. It can be reading to kids at a library. Everything is legacy when you're doing it to make somebody else's life better.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I saw this years ago. In fact, I'll drop the link to this in the show notes along with all of Mary's stuff, but there's a YouTube video that the Cleveland Clinic put out years ago. And all it is a video walking through the hospital, right? And they'll zoom in on one individual that's walking down the hall and just gives a smile, and then it'll do like a pop-up bubble above their head that says, just found out mom has terminal stage 4 cancer. And then it goes to the next person, just found out son didn't make the varsity baseball team. And the point, this is a long video, it's like 10 minutes of going through a hospital. And the point was, everybody is dealing with something, right? And to your point, if you can just give them a smile, a hug when they need it, how are you doing? Genuinely care how much of an impact that can have on somebody's day, their week, their life, so exactly.
And I think we always, I think we get self-centered. We always assume we're the only ones having a bad day when we have a bad day. And we don't realize what people are going through, and we don't realize how a little thing like a smile can help, right? And that is a ripple effect when you do that, and they now feel better, and they treat other people better. And if you run into somebody who's nasty to you or rude to you, it probably really has nothing to do with you. It probably has everything to do with something they're going through that we don't even know, right? Yep. So try not to take things too personally. That's that book, The 4 Agreements. I haven't read it in a long time, but
it
has a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't take things personally. It's probably not about you. In fact, one of my favorite quotes when I used to get upset about if somebody treated me bad was, or I'd worry about what people were thinking about me. And I read somewhere it says, you wouldn't worry so much about what people think about you if you realize how seldom they did.
That's exactly right.
They're not really thinking about us. We assume they're thinking bad thoughts about it. We're not even in their head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny.
So Mary, I know you do a lot of speaking. You're open to doing a lot of speaking. So what's the best way folks can find you, contact you if they're hosting an event or a cruise or something like that, and they want to get you involved? What's the best point of contact for you?
So I'd say they could email me at marihart@fairoaksfunding.com, and Oaks has an S on it, marihart@fairoaksfunding.com. They can text me at 828-618-4442. Those are probably the best ways to get in touch with me. And if I can fit something in my schedule, I'm usually very happy to help.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll drop all of that. And again, we'll drop the links to all of your information. Fair Oaks Funding, I know you guys are starting to get active on social media, so we'll get all those links in there as well. And I encourage everybody, again, obviously this is coming from a fellow lender, but if you have needs, you have capital needs, I would put them right up there with any other lender I know as far as, and you've heard Mary talk about her experience in the legal world, how that applies to being very good at what she's doing now. So give them a shot. And Mary, I can't thank you enough. I could spend hours and hours praising you because you really have had a big impact in such a short period of time. I'm excited. We're going to start in January with kind of a monthly continuation of that room we were in, just
I'm
collaborating and
excited about
sharing ideas, and I'm very excited. And we're talking about Dealmaker. We are launching Dealmaker Hampton Roads in January as well, and I'm just excited to kind of get into what seems to be your world, just facilitating more and more collaboration, and to be the curator of that excites me. So kind of
it's
a new
awesome.
venture for
And in
us.
fact,
So
I think we're going to do Dealmaker Western North Carolina in probably first or second quarter of 2026. I'm working with another woman who's a lender, not in the hard money space, but in more of the residential loan brokering space. And she might come in and help us host it. But I'm very excited about that because one of our meetup groups here in Asheville just closed down, and it was meeting a huge need that was bringing in agents and real estate investors. And so I think it's the time is right for a new meetup group to happen. And I love Jim's whole vibe with the Dealmaker community. And I think it's just it's so great. It's gratitude, it's giving, it's service. It's not about the making the money. That'll come if you do your job right. That'll come. It's more about how can we make everybody better? How can we make everybody better?
I'd say less than 5% of our conversation and planning around starting this event has been around how it can help 608B Capital, right? Yeah. 95% of it is we're gonna be able to help a lot of people, like just getting them in the room, because in our particular area, there's not a really well-known, well-established meetup or networking event or group or anything like that. So to be able to facilitate that, yeah, the business may come from it. It probably will, but that is not a leading thought with how we're doing it. It's just carrying on. I mean, Jim has started a fantastic brand, a fantastic culture. And for us to be blessed with him saying, hey, y'all run with it in your area, let's go. I'm excited about it.
It's great. So, I think it's great. And I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, it's amazing if you help enough people get what they need, you'll get everything you need or everything you want. So I can't remember the exact quote, but the idea is focus on service to others and you'll end up getting everything you need and want. Just focus on others first and the rest will come.
Well said. Great place to wrap this up, Mary. So I appreciate your time. I'm glad we were able to get this on the calendar and knocked out.
And busy people. It took a while. Two very, very busy people, but exactly yes, and thank you, Jason. I'm very honored, and all the kind things you said about me, I sure appreciate it, and I'm glad to know that I helped your legacy and all that. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that'll wrap up another episode of Burning the Ships, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Burning the Ships. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, 608B Capital, helping real estate investors secure fast, reliable funding to fuel their boldest moves. If you're ready to take your investing to the next level, visit 608bcapital.com to learn more. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps us reach more people who are ready to burn the ships and commit fully to their goals. And don't forget to share the episode with someone who needs that extra push to take bold action. I'll leave you with this. Burning the ships isn't just about removing the option to retreat. It's about unlocking the courage to charge forward. No matter the odds, the past is behind you and the future is yours to conquer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Burning the Ships.